All right, and here we are at the bottom. We'll do this as 2.6, page 2c here. And on number 42, you've got x over 4 is less than -1. Don't panic. When it looks a little different, go ask yourself, what is so different? What's happening here? What's causing me to think this is so different? And in this case, well, there's an x sitting on top of a fraction. Remember that fraction is the same as division, okay? So we go through our little checklist here. There's no parentheses, there's no like terms on either side of the inequality. This is a fraction. You could think of this in terms of a fraction and multiply both by the LCD. That's totally fine. But you'll get that same result if you ask yourself what's happening to x in terms of, well, x is being divided by 4. So you take x in terms of a timeline. You'd say, hey, x is being divided by 4. Well, how do we undo that? There's only one step here, so this stays the first step. You just do the opposite operation, multiply by 4. I'm going to do that to both sides, so let's do that here. 4 times both sides here. Here's our original. X over 4 is less than -1. And then what do you get? Well, the 4's cancel each other out. That was the whole point. This looks like as if we were eliminating fractions. It's the same as eliminating the fractions. Okay? So we just get x is less than 4 times -1 is -4. Now I want you to notice this, okay? There's no flip here. Yes, we're multiplying by a -1, but we didn't multiply both sides, okay? So it's not being multiplied on both sides. It just happened that there was a negative over here, but we're multiplying both sides by a +4. So notice that, okay? And then if you were to do a number line representation of that, your answer would be -4. It would be everything to the left of -4 less than. X is less than -4. All the solutions that make this equation true are less than -4. And then it does not include -4, so we'll make that a parentheses, which really helps us jump to the interval notation. We say it goes from -infinity to -4. There's our two endpoints. We can see them on the number line. We don't include -4. That's what the less than tells us. And we also never include infinity because it's a concept, not an actual value. So your interval notation will be parentheses, -infinity, comma, -4, parentheses. So there's your three possible answers, three possible versions of the same answer, the same set of solutions here. Okay, x has to be less than -4. On the number line, it looks like this in interval notation. This is how you describe that set of values. Okay, so let's look at number 50. This one starts out -7x less than or equal to 21. Right away, I see that there's an x being multiplied by a -7, and to undo that multiplication, I'm going to need to divide, and I'm going to need to divide by a -7. So I can see by looking at this, this is a red flag situation. I'm going to multiply or divide both sides by a negative. But let's talk through our process anyway. Parentheses on either side? Nope, already taken care of. Like terms on either side of the equation, or the inequality this time? Nope, already taken care of. X has picked a side, so we're good to go. We can start by asking what's happening to x. And in this case, just one thing is happening. It's being multiplied by a -7, or if you were to write that in timeline version, multiply by a -7. So to undo that, we do reverse order. When there's one step, it's not that exciting. It's just that same one step, only it is an opposite operation. You would divide both sides by a -7. Right there is our big red flag here. In this case, I've got a black pen. But you divide both sides by a negative. We divided both sides by negative. Sorry, my alarm's going off here. Let me get that. So we divide both sides by negative. And what that gets is the -7 cancels the -7 because that's what the division did. It undid the multiplication. We get x, and then 21 divided by -7 is a -3. Positive divided by negative is negative. But the inequality flips here. Instead of being less than or equal to, it's now greater than or equal to. So we flip the inequality. Now it's greater than. And we've got x all by itself, so it's ready for our little number line version here. Here's 0 for reference. Here's -3, positive infinity, negative infinity. Sorry, my pen slipped there. Not very pretty. Greater than or equal to -3 means all the values that will be greater than or to the right of -3. So we're going to shade all the way here. It includes -3, so we do that little closed bracket to represent that. There's the number line version. And then we can move right into the interval notation with visually using the number line to help us here. So we've got the two endpoints. It goes from -3 to positive infinity. So -3 to positive infinity. I get to include -3, so I use the close brackets. I can never include infinity. It's not a number, it's a concept. So infinities always have a parentheses when you're talking about intervals. Okay, so that should help you get started on 2.6. Let's move on to page 3 of the notes. Good job.